Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here, talking about the spirit of Thyatira or the Jezebel spirit or the Ahab spirit. In our last video, we promised that we would help out as far as some of the spiritual warfare is concerned. And so I wanted to go ahead and take care of that in this video. Now, what I believe is that we have identified the Jezebel spirit in the Testament of Solomon. Um, the reason why I say that, giving our Father all praise for all truth, is that it was brought to my attention um, by him these seven devils that was cast out of Mary Magdalene, and so we'll just keep that in mind that it was seven devils that was cast out of this Mary Magdalene. We're gonna see that number seven here in respect to demons here in a second, so we'll come back to that. Well, for the primary text, I want to come out of the Testament of Solomon. This will be one of your apocryphal books or hidden books or whatever. But I'm looking particularly for this website here, jstor.org. Click on it and it asks me to download it. And it spits out a PDF of the Testament of Solomon. Now, for the particular passage that we're coming out of, this is going to be all the way down here in about verse 34. Now, we've covered some of this in the other class. You guys should check out that other class. It's a little bit longer class, but it has a lot of information in it. We just want to pay particularly close attention to the strategies for dealing with this Jezebel spirit. Like we said, we've identified over here in verse 34 of the Testament of Solomon, particularly right there where it says, "And there came seven spirits, females, bound and woven together." So when I'm looking at that, seven female spirits bound and woven together, and our Father brought it to my attention, the spirits that Mary Magdalene were dealing with. I believe these are the same spirits. We could go into a lot of detail in the scripture to prove that, and how the Testament of Solomon talks about legion, and how you had that same legion that the Messiah dealt with here mentioned in the Testament of Solomon, and some of the other demons as well. There's a direct correlation between the demons that the Father, our Messiah, was dealing with and the ones we read about over here. So I believe, and we could talk about it in the comment section, that this is the Jezebel spirit. These are the seven spirits of Jezebel here. But let me go ahead and read the verse. It says, "And I glorify God afresh, who gave me this authority, and ordered another demon to come before me. And there came seven spirits, females, bound and woven together, fair in appearance and comely." Okay, so just for those who are not familiar with the Testament of Solomon, he was given the power to communicate with these spirits and even lock them away. And a lot of them he even ordered to help build the first temple. But you can read about all of that in this book. It goes on to say, "And I, Solomon, seeing them, questioned them and said, Who are ye? But they, with one accord, said with one voice, We are the 33 elements of the cosmic ruler of the darkness." Okay, so he's dealing with these seven spirits who claim to be these 33 elements. And I think that number has significance, but I know for sure that I can't speak on it. So let's go on. It says, "And the first said, I am deception." Now, these are in order, and we're going to get into the order of these here. The second, "I am strife." The third, "I am clothud," which is battle. The fourth, "I am jealousy." The fifth, "I am power." The sixth, "I am error." The seventh, "I am the worst of all, and our stars in heaven." Seven stars humble in sheen altogether, and we are called, as it were, goddesses. We change our place altogether, and together we live, sometimes in Lydia, sometimes in Olympus, sometimes in a great mountain. Now, this is a wealth of information here. We're paying particularly close attention to these seven spirits here, but there's a lot of additional information in here that we could bring out in other videos. Like I was saying, that sometimes it lives in Lydia and sometimes in Olympus. Well, Olympus should bring to mind the um, Greek mythological gods, and then this great mountain would be Israel itself. But these are the seven spirits that makes up the Jezebel spirit. These are the seven spirits. But let's get into these a little bit, and I want to tell you, this video will have more questions in it than answers. So let's take advantage of the comment section that we can hammer some of this stuff out. But let's look at verse 35. It says, "So I, Solomon, questioned them one by one, beginning with the first and going down to the seventh. The first said, I am deception. I deceive and weave snares here and there. I whet and excite heresies, but I have an angel who frustrates me. Okay, so now like I said, this video will have more questions, and this particular angel, I don't have a lot of information on him. The others, we will have a little bit more information, but the angel of Lamechel or Lamechel, really haven't heard too much about that particular angel. But what I can bring out is, as far as this demon deception is concerned, is that it enters the room before the rest of the spirits that come along with it. Like deception is one of the first things that we'll see when we're having to deal with the Jezebel spirit. But we'll come back to that. Likewise, the second said, I am strife, strife of strifes. I bring timbers, stones, hangers, my weapons on the spot. But I have an angel that frustrates me. It is Barachiel. Now, this Barachiel, this angel of Baruch, is what it turns out to be. We found a lot of information on him. There's 3 books written by Baruch, and the second one, I haven't been able to see it. I've only heard it on YouTube, the second book of Baruch. I listened to it about 7 times after reading these verses here. How this angel frustrates, this angel strife, and the second book seems the most pertinent to this particular strife, because it goes a long way as to explaining some of the things that I believe once understood. It takes away the strife. There's no more arguing. Even though deception and this Jezebel spirit is trying to break its way in, understanding what we gain from the books written by Baruch goes a long way to take away the strife out of it. So I believe that's where this is pointing to in that particular book. But we'll see how it does it again down here, and then we'll see. If you have any more information on this Barachiel or Barachiel, let's add it in the comment section along with that one we mentioned up there earlier, Lamechel. But 37, okay, so that's strife. To deal with strife, I believe, comes the understanding of the messages given by Baruch. Like I said, particularly second Baruch. But verse 37 says, likewise also the third says, I am clothed, which is battle, and I cause the well-behaved to scatter and fall foul to the other, one to the other. And why do I say so much? I have an angel that frustrates me. It's Marmaroth. Now, there's not a lot of information on this Marmaroth. In the pseudepigrapha, there's in the footnotes that the word Mar means Lord or something like that. So they tried to make the connection that Marmaroth was saying Lord of Lords. using the word mar or Lord twice. But I don't have a lot of other information on that. Again, let's take advantage of the comment section on how to deal with this particular demon, I'm going to call it clothard, which is battle. So we're looking at the chronology of it here. This is why I say deception comes in first, because it's like, okay, there is some deception, which includes heresies, like it said up there earlier. This would could very well be the breaking of the law, um, or anything like that, or it could be a flat out lie or something that brings in deception. But once deception is in, it brings in strife, where there's some arguing, some strife going back and forth before battle, which to me sounds like fighting. So you then went from deception to strife to now in battle. We're battling against this. Or they're fighting. There, could be some type of domestic kind of stuff going on there, and which I believe brings in the fourth one. This fourth one, we read in verse 38. It says, "Likewise, the fourth said, I cause men to forget their sobriety and moderation. I part them and split them into parties, for strife follows me hand in hand. I rend the husband from the sharer of his bed, and children from their parents, and brothers from sisters. But why tell so much to my despite? I have an angel that frustrates me, the great Balthiel." Now, this fourth one, we're really getting into, I don't want to say the meat of the matter, but we're really getting deep here when we're dealing with this fourth one. We see back up in verse 34 that the fourth one is jealousy. This fourth angel is named jealousy, even though it's not mentioned down here. We can tell from the other ones that this is jealousy that we're dealing with, this fourth one. But notice that this fourth one, this jealousy, this demon jealousy, causes men to forget their sobriety and moderation. Now that's a big deal, because you think how many of these men and maybe women too are turning to substances, whether it be drugs or alcohol, whether it be food or sugar, or whether it be pornography or any kind of thing like this, that would be followed by this strife, could very well be part of this spirit of jealousy here. Then notice how it says that he parts them into parties. Now, this is what I believe the Messiah was saying when he said that there would be a household, the household would be divided, and you would have 3 against 2, or 4 against 5, or something like that. He said, this is what I believe is talking about, where they are split into the parties, where you have the one party who is basically against. You could think, okay, the family is fighting over the presence of the Jezebel spirit, where half the family wants to be free of the spirit and the other half that sees no problem with it. I believe that's what these parties are, and why they are splitting. There's a split. A lot of times this type of split occurs around the holidays and feast days and stuff like that. But I believe it's the spirit that's causing these families to break up. What it's saying right here, he rends the husband from the share, or from his wife, from the share of his bed, and even the sister from the brother. So he's causing these people to break up. This is jealousy, and I believe this jealousy is stemming from these battles that is going on, these fights that is going on, and maybe some other stuff that's causing envy, causing jealousy, causing one to remember injuries and kind of stuff like that. And the reason why I say that is because it is frustrated by this great angel Balthiel. And I looked this up. Balthiel, I did find out that Balthiel is the angel of forgiveness. So you're looking at the angel of forgiveness who thwarts this angel jealousy. Putting those two things together, what I gather out of it, like I said, is this battle and this strife is causing this resentment, and this is leading to a lack of forgiveness. And so once we learn to forgive ourselves and others, it's important to remember to forgive ourselves too. Everybody has to be forgiven here. Then we can start to frustrate or thwart this angel of jealousy. Okay. Now, going on to the fifth one in verse 39 says, likewise also the fifth said, I am power. By power I raise up tyrants and tear down kings. To all rebels I furnish power. I have an angel that frustrates me, and this is Ashtaroth. Okay, now this is when it gets a little bit weird, because power, the angel power, is mentioned in the book called The Shepherd of Hermas as a good spirit. That makes me think that none of these are really good or bad. It's just could be used in the wrong way. If the Jezebel spirit is allowed to gain this power, it's going to lead to the next one, which is error down there. It's going to, be able to cause the person to do something when it's given power. If this spirit is not given any power, then it's just sitting there, causing, frustrations or whatever. But, take it to a whole nother level when you give it some type of motive force. But notice that it's frustrated by this angel Ashtaroth down here, which appears to me is associated with the same God that they celebrate around springtime with the Easter bunny and the eggs. So I'm wondering, okay, so is this why these governments use that particular holiday Easter to take away power? And is that why countries that don't partake in Easter, like the Muslim countries, their citizens tend to rise up more? Maybe their power hasn't been reduced like it has been in America. I don't know. Like I said, I have more questions than I have answers. But just looking at the chronology here, once this jealousy has entered the room, the question now is, are we going to give this thing power? Are we going to allow power to enter in? Because now, like I say, you're taking it to a whole nother level, taking you to error, which we read about in verse 40. Says, likewise also the sixth said, I am error, O King Solomon, and I will make thee to err, as I have before made thee to err, when I caused thee to slay thy own brother. I will lead you into error, so as to pry into graves, and I teach them that dig, and I lead errant souls away from all piety, and many other evil traits are mine. But I have an angel that frustrates me, and that is Uriel. Now, I'm planning on doing probably a whole class on this one, because Uriel is the angel that we read about in the Shepherd of Hermas. This is Hermas Academy, because we try to teach a lot of the Shepherd of Hermas, which is another holy scriptural document, particular books that instructs us or guides us or even directs us to teach it, and even read it over and over. So we spend a lot of time in that particular book. But in that book, you hear about the angel of repentance, who turns out to be this Uriel. So this is what I was saying earlier about the Barachiel, where it thwarts strife, and Barak is responsible for a lot of books. Well, this Uriel is responsible for one book called the Shepherd of Hermas. Uriel is that shepherd in the Shepherd of Hermas, and it thwarts this error. So I believe that this is how we can, go a long way to keep us out of error, is by becoming familiar in reading that book called The Shepherd of Hermas. But let's go on. We have one more. It says, likewise also the seventh said, I am the worst, and I make thee worse off than thou wast, because I will impose the bonds of Artemis. But the locust will set me free, for by means thereof, if it is fated that thou shalt achieve my desire. For if one were wise, he would not turn his steps towards me. Now, there's a lot going on in this verse. If you're not familiar with this book, what it's talking about, these locusts, is you read about that in the very end of the book. The last few chapters talk about what Solomon did to get himself in trouble. Basically, he got tied up in this Jezebel spirit. He fell victim to what we read about in verse 41. The rest of us would hope that we don't. That's what Revelations, I believe, is talking about. The book of Revelation is talking about when it says the depths of Satan. You read about that in Revelation chapter 2 at the end, where it says those who haven't fell unto the depths of Satan. put on you no other burden. This, I believe, is what it's talking about here. These are the depths of Satan when it's talking about these grasshoppers and these ornaments and this kind of stuff here. That's what it's talking about, stars and all of that above. So um, the only real solution to this one is, like it says right there, it says, for if one were wise, he would not turn his steps toward me. So I can't say that there's a solution to that one. Once you go there, you may not make it back out. So you don't want to go there. And I believe what we have to do is get ahead of these other ones. In my household, we try to get ahead of deception and not let deception in, understanding that deception is allowing these other ones to move in. But if deception sneaks in, then we try to deal with strife and don't get into battle, or and have a lot of forgiveness for one another, as we try to deal with this particular spirit. And then in verse 42, you see how this spirit was actually made to build the foundations for the temple. I found that interesting. We could talk about that in the comment section too. But like I said, guys, this video has more questions than answers. So let's talk about these angels. Let's have some type of breakout on these angels, especially the ones like Lametiel that we not really familiar with. Let's talk about it and see if we can hammer out, what our Father's message is, what He wants us to know, and how He wants us to deal with these spirits. In the meantime, we'll pray for one another, and we'll continue to pray for our Father's will, remembering particularly that part where it says, deliver us from evil, or lead us not into evil. Because that's what we're talking about here. If we don't have these protections, we may fall victim to these evil spirits. So let's stay prayed up. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.